Jesse here says that you fight in all pink.
I'm from West Virginia.
What's that got to do with pink?
To kick off, I love these stories about the perseverance of the human spirit. A couple films I saw last year, also athlete biopics, The Fire Inside and Unstoppable, both gave me the same feeling that Christy did. Just powering through, showing what it takes to be a world-class athlete, and also dealing with the personal struggles as well. I was hoping you could both speak to the value in telling stories like this, for Sydney as a storyteller and a producer, and Christy as the woman whose life is on display.
I think it's important that we get the story out there so people that are going through these same struggles see a path, and that they're not alone, and they can also see a path to get out. And Sydney did that really, really well. She became me, and people are responding to this story.
I think it's important to have inspirational stories like Christy. Like she said, it opens up pathways for others. It hopefully inspires them. Hopefully it helps create change. I think that she truly is an underdog and such an incredible person. So it's an honor to be able to share a story with everybody.
Yeah, Christy, you are an underdog, but you also know how good you were in the ring. It was really cool over the course of this film to see your trash talking evolve, because anyone who follows combat sports knows half the battle in selling a fight is making sure people think that these two people really want to clash. Can you kind of speak, Christy, specifically to the evolution of your trash talking voice over the course of your career?
There is nothing I love better than to get into that smack talk back and forth. I think I used it to try to get into my opponent's head, thinking that I'm going to beat you before you even get in the ring. I'm going to make you so angry, you're going to make mistakes. And did it really? And you know what? She liked it. She absolutely liked it.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that side of the battle is, like I said, it's half the battle in selling the fight, which is really cool. Sydney, when it came to actually getting in the ring when doing this film, I've heard before, like Michael B. Jordan, when he was doing Creed, he would accidentally take a real punch. Like, it's bound to happen eventually. Did you ever take a real strike accidentally? And if so, how did that impact your perception of Christy's toughness?
Every single fight, I told the girls to hit me. So all the fights you see in the movie were actually hitting each other.
And she liked it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I read that you want to step in the ring for real. Is this true, Sydney?
I mean, maybe you'll have to wait and watch Christy Martin Promotions. Okay,
well, I think a charity bout could be in your future for sure. Guys, I want to talk a little spoilers here. And, this is the third act. It's very deep stuff. A moment that really caught my ear when watching how that third act unfolds was when Christy gets in the car. She immediately, the first thing she says is she apologizes for blood getting on the seat. That brought me to tears, just a little line like that. I think it says a lot about who you are as a person, Christy, especially when you interact with strangers like that. Sydney, for you, how did a line like that impact your perception of Christy?
I mean, it was one of those moments where even though everything's happening to her, she's still thinking of others, and she's still aware of maybe the burden that she's bringing on somebody else instead of just like truly thinking of herself. But that scene was really interesting when we were like at the very end of our day. We had no time. I think we shot that scene in like 7 minutes. It was one take. We didn't have any more time. And it's one of my favorite shots as well. And
Christy, I also read as well that you didn't interact with Ben on set. Is there anything you can say to just the power of his performance? Because I'm assuming you've watched the film in full at this point.
I don't know if there is like one word that can describe the power of his performance. He was Jim Martin. He was Jim Martin so much that I accidentally walked out a door one day. He was sitting there, and I immediately started cussing him out. And I had to reel myself in and say, whoa, Christy, that's not Jim Martin. And I don't know if I apologized to him. I probably didn't, but he was Jim Martin. It's scary, actually, for me. But since the movie is wrapped, he's my bud. And he's been supporting my Christy Martin Promotions fights, and he's a good dude.
It's good to hear. Well, thank you for sharing some vulnerability with that response. I know it's heavy subject material, but it's really brave whenever you put that kind of stuff on display. To talk a little bit about the future here, Sydney, I saw that you were filming in New York City, Devil Wears Prada 2. Is there anything you can speak on that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I live here, so I've seen some set photos and stuff like that.
Oh no.
It's a rich ensemble, so hopefully we get to see you in that picture. Otherwise, if we could also talk about the future, I mentioned this to you at the Echo Valley carpet. My favorite project you've ever done is Downfalls High. And I'm so serious about that. I think it's such a unique concept. MGK just dropped a deluxe version for the 5-year anniversary. Scarlett's in a coma. Who says no?
I mean, Coulson is such a great friend, so would always love to work with him again.
That would be really cool. Again, there's so many avenues we could go down with a music story like that. But seriously, guys, Christy is a truly wonderful story. It took me by the heart. It took me by the soul, and I think a lot of people are going to have their lives changed by this one. So thank you so much for putting so much effort into a vulnerable performance, Sydney. And Christy, thank you for being willing to share your story on the big screen. You're amazing in this role as Lisa. I was so entranced by your performance, especially with, the trajectory she goes on between her relationship with Christy throughout the film. For starters, though, did you have the chance to chat with the real life Lisa before production got started? And if so, are there any memories you two have together that you'll especially hold on to throughout your life?
It was, we got to chat for a couple hours over the phone before I went in. I was between projects. She lives in Texas. So it was like a whole thing. So the fact that she was even able to take some time and talk to me was, I was so grateful for that. And then, she just was very forthcoming. She's very blunt, very honest, a very fun, cool person to get to know. So right away, I was like, I'm obsessed with this person. I'm so glad I get to play her. And then when we finally got to meet on set, I remember I was just waiting for Sydney to wrap a scene. So we were gonna do some of our choreo. So in the meantime, Lisa and I went back with the fight coordinator, Walter. And she was just like, just kind of ragging on him, like talking about the easy techniques to go against lefties. And I'm a lefty, so she was like, getting in his ribs and stuff like that. It was just really fun to see the spark in her eyes, the passion in her eyes, but also just like, just the difference in the skill of someone who's a world-class boxer. And it's just, I love seeing people in their element when they're excited. And it was just awesome. Yeah,
there's something about that fighter's mentality. It never leaves you, even long after you retired. Speaking on the physicality side, though, you're no stranger to taking on physical roles. I feel like the majority of your credits in your history have been stuff that leans heavy on the action. So I'm sure this kind of physical preparation is something that's relatively familiar to you going into Christy. But were there any elements of what you were preparing for on the boxing side that kind of took you by surprise?
Well, this was actually, it was kind of a, should I even responsibly take the role situation. Of all things, had just blown my back out on a rom-com. It's
where you least expect it, right?
Literally so embarrassing. I felt very fragile. I had 2 tears in my shoulder. It actually, like every time I threw a punch, felt like my shoulder was gonna fall off. So that was the biggest hurdle I had to get over. And then the other thing is I've done Hapkido, I've done karate, like traditional sports. I'm very stiff. And then I've done Muay Thai, which is a kicking, primarily like kicking is where I would center that style. But it's a different stance and a different energy and a different kind of technique and tactics. So it was just kind of trying to modify in the very short period of time we had my Muay Thai stance to like a Western boxing stance.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you fooled me in terms of going into this film a little banged up because I thought you were phenomenal anytime you were in the ring. I want to end on a little bit of a spoiler notes. We'll save this until after the film comes out. But that ending big scene between Jim and Christy, the one that we all read about going into the film, we knew it was coming. It still left me in a really like weird, uncomfortable place, as I'm sure all viewers. Were you on set that day when it was being filmed? And if not, what was your first reaction when you saw that film as an audience, saw that scene as an audience member for the first time?
I wasn't. I'm glad I wasn't. It's, I assume most people, I don't enjoy watching violence against women. I'd rather not. One thing that I really loved about how David handled that was so much of it was in expressions and not in, you didn't really see the knife going in and in and in and in. And I think that that could feel very like, just like an additional violation in a way. So, and then there was also, you know, some other scenes of violence where you see it just happens behind the scene, off camera. And I think that that's really important to show that this is what happens in people's lives as well. Is like they might, in public, in day-to-day life, seem healthy, like they have a normal relationship. And what happens that you don't see is the part that's really traumatic. And a lot of that happened, completely off screen, which for me was very powerful. And I think, you know, it was a lot more tasteful for him to do it that way.
Yeah, handling subject matter like this is very fragile. And I thought you all, regardless of what scenes you were in, handled it with great care. So you should all be very proud. Excited for this one to get a lot of buzz this award season. Congratulations on a great picture, Katy.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, have I got a treat for you.